My name is Olivia Grant. I am 33 years old, a licensed architect in Asheville, North Carolina, and at 10:15 on a Tuesday morning, my family invited me to the Blue Ridge Mountain Resort preview room as the girl who drew the lines, while my younger sister stood under a screen presenting my blueprints as her vision. Investors sat around a long glass table with leather folders in front of them. Contractors leaned against the back wall, tablets ready. A city planning reviewer sat near the front with a file already open. Chloe wore a cream suit, a headset microphone, and the smile she used whenever she knew someone else had done the work for her. My mother, Carol, sat beside her like she had personally given birth to creativity. My father, Martin, stood near the coffee station, watching me instead of the screen. Brent Maddox, Chloe's fiancé, clicked through slides that still carried the rhythm of my hands, my red lines, my ADA corrections, my roof load notes, my fire-resistant material schedule. Then my mother smiled at the investors and said, "Olivia only drew the lines. Chloe had the vision." A few people chuckled politely. Chloe tilted her head like the insult embarrassed her, but not enough to correct it. I was seated near the coffee station with contractor folders on my lap and no name badge. My blue blueprint tube rested against my chair. Inside it were the original stamped plans, dated drafts, city comments, invoice records, print shop receipts, and a note from my late mentor Raymond Ellis that said, "Never let anyone remove your name from your work." I did not stand up right away. I did not grab the microphone. I pressed my palm against the tube and watched my sister point to my mountain lodge safety plan like she had invented gravity. Before I tell you what happened when the city planner stopped the meeting and asked who stamped those plans, tell me this first. What time is it where you are right now, and where are you watching from? I want to know how far this story travels before my family understands that a line is not small when it holds the roof up. The first thing you need to know about my family is that Chloe was never asked to carry the weight of her own ideas. I was the one they called practical, like it was an insult. Chloe was creative. I was rigid. Chloe dreamed. I measured. Chloe arrived late with a mood board and everyone clapped. I arrived early with code corrections and everyone asked why I had to be so intense. My father liked to say we were different kinds of talented, but somehow her talent always needed support and mine always needed humility. My mother translated that into one rule. Chloe got the spotlight. I got the workbench. The resort had belonged to my grandparents decades ago, a tired mountain property outside Asheville. My parents inherited a partial ownership share, mismanaged it for years, then decided Chloe could relaunch it as a wellness retreat under her lifestyle brand. Chloe called it a legacy revival. I called it a building with failed ramps, outdated fire exits, mold behind 2 walls, and a roofline that needed actual engineering before anyone started naming yoga decks. They invited me in 6 months earlier because the first contractor told them the city would never approve Chloe's concept without a licensed architect. My mother called me the same night, not to ask, to assign. "Family builds together," she said. In our house, family meant I fixed the thing and Chloe photographed the reveal. I said I was too busy. My father called next and said, "Don't embarrass your sister. She has investors watching." That was how they always brought me back. Not with love, with risk. I agreed to review the package for safety and compliance only, under clear terms, in writing. They agreed to credit my studio as architect of record if the project moved forward. I saved every email because I had been raised by people who treated memory like clay. Even then, I knew documentation would matter. I just did not know they were planning to erase the person who kept the project alive. The family pattern was old. At 15, Chloe forgot her science fair display board, so I stayed up until 2 a.m. rebuilding it from printer paper and cardboard while she cried on the couch. She won second place. My mother said Chloe had such natural presentation skills. At 26, when I passed the first part of my licensing exam, my father said, "Good, maybe now you can help Chloe's brand look professional." When Chloe's first engagement ended because she had spent wedding money on a rebranding consultant, my mother said she was heartbroken and fragile. When I worked 60 hours a week at a firm and forgot to call home for Easter, she said success had made me cold. Chloe was allowed to be overwhelmed. I was expected to be available. That difference built the whole family. Raymond Ellis saw it before I did. He taught me how to read a building like a confession. "People lie in meetings," he said. "Structures tell the truth." When a client tried to credit his nephew for a hotel redesign I had spent 4 months drafting, Raymond slid the stamped plan across the conference table and said, "Then let the nephew answer the stairwell question." The nephew went silent. Afterward, Raymond gave me the blue blueprint tube I still use. Inside the cap, he taped that note. "Never let anyone remove your name from your work." I thought it was a professional warning. Later, I learned it was a family warning, too. Raymond died the year I got licensed. I kept his note because some voices become beams after the person is gone. My work became my language. I inspected warped decks, redesigned fire exits, checked ADA slopes, reviewed snow loads, specified ignition-resistant siding, and sat in rooms where developers wanted pretty renderings before they wanted safe doors. I learned to keep copies, version histories, metadata, invoices, meeting notes, and photos from every site visit. A building can be beautiful and still be dangerous. A family can be smiling and still be stealing. When my parents pulled me into the resort project, I treated it like any other risk file. I walked the property in rain boots, photographed rotted railings, measured the north ramp, marked the kitchen exhaust issue, and wrote a 12-page correction memo before Chloe finished choosing a logo font. The first permit consultant called the project ambitious. That was polite language for underprepared. I rebuilt the site access plan. I corrected the occupancy calculations. I redrew the lobby circulation because Chloe wanted a giant stone fireplace where the accessible path needed to be. I pushed back on Brent when he wanted to call a decorative balcony event space without load documentation. He smiled and said, "Creative people need technical support." I said, "Technical support keeps creative people out of lawsuits." He did not laugh. Men like Brent only like smart women when their intelligence can be billed under someone else's name. For 5 months, my family treated me like a tool they had found in a drawer. I flagged the fact that the old west staircase could not remain as the only secondary exit. I spent one Saturday in the resort dining hall with a flashlight and a tape measure while Chloe filmed a teaser video outside saying, "This place has always been in my blood." Still, I kept going because the building mattered. Unsafe design does not only punish the people who steal credit, it punishes guests, workers, children, whoever happens to be inside when fantasy meets physics. That was my line. They could insult me. They could not use my license to endanger people. The first real warning came from a print shop receipt. 2 days before the investor pitch, I was at my apartment reviewing a stair detail when an email came in from Blue Ridge Print and Copy. "Thank you for your order. Second full-size set, matte bond, name block adjusted." My card had paid for the original set because Chloe claimed the resort account was temporarily locked. I had not ordered a second set. I opened the receipt and saw Brent's name in the pickup field. Name block adjusted. Those 3 words sat on the screen like a lit match. I called the shop. The young employee hesitated, then said a woman had brought in a file and asked them to remove extra technical branding from the lower corner. Extra technical branding meant my name, my studio, my license number. I asked if they still had the print file. He said yes. I asked him to preserve it. He went quiet. Then he said, "Is something wrong?" I looked at Raymond's blue tube leaning against my desk. Not anymore. That was when the insult became evidence. The next morning, Brent showed up at my office with a folder and a coffee I had not asked for. He wore his investor smile. "Family contributor acknowledgement," he said, "standard cleanup before the pitch." I took the folder but did not sit. The top page thanked me for supporting Chloe Grant Creative in preliminary drafting. The second page included a clause transferring all design rights, files, corrections, and presentation materials to Chloe's LLC. It also said I had no claim to authorship beyond informal family assistance. He had hidden a theft inside gratitude. I looked up. "That clause transfers rights." His smile thinned. "It just keeps things clean." "Then remove it." "Olivia, don't make this about ego. My license is not decoration." He leaned closer. "Your parents are tired of you making everything difficult." There it was. The family voice, borrowed by the fiancé. I closed the folder and slid it back. "I am not signing." He left the coffee on my desk like a prop from a failed peace offering. 10 minutes later, my father called. "Sign it and stop making this ugly." I asked if he had read the clause. He said, "Real family does not keep score." I said, "Real family does not forge credits." He hung up. People reveal the plan when the shortcut fails. On the day of the pitch, I arrived early because I wanted to see the room before they could perform inside it. The resort preview suite had been staged in the old hotel lobby with temporary walls, a projector, sample boards, and one long table facing a rendering of the renovated lodge. My blue tube was in my left hand. My original stamped plans were inside it, along with the print receipt, CAD metadata summary, city pre-review comments, email chains, red line sheets, and Raymond's note. Chloe's assistant handed me a badge that said support team. I looked at it, then at her. No. She blinked. I wrote Olivia Grant, architect, on the blank back with a black marker and clipped it to my blazer. Small corrections matter. They teach the room what name to use. Chloe saw it from the stage and turned away fast. My mother crossed to me before the first investor sat down. Please do not do this today. Do what? Compete. I looked at the resort rendering behind her. My roofline softened into Chloe's brand colors. Credit is not competition. She sighed. You always make credit so awkward. Only when someone steals it. Her mouth tightened. Your sister is the face of this. Then let the face answer the code questions. My father appeared with 2 coffees and a warning in his eyes. Maybe not here. Those 3 words had built half my childhood. Not here meant not where witnesses could hear. Not now meant not before Chloe benefited. Not like this meant not with proof. I said, then where? He had no answer. The investors arrived in clusters. Dana Mercer, the city planning reviewer, came in last, carrying a thick file. I had seen her once during the pre-review walkthrough. She had asked sharp questions about emergency vehicle access and did not care that Chloe kept saying, retreat atmosphere. Dana recognized me and nodded. Chloe began the presentation at 10:15 sharp. She opened with childhood memories she had borrowed from all of us. She talked about legacy, mountain healing, inclusive design, sustainable materials, and family commitment. She clicked to the first drawing slide. My drawing. My slope correction. My egress route. My notation style. My hand erased from the corner. Brent introduced the project as Chloe's holistic architectural concept. My mother glowed. My father stared at the table. I let them speak because a lie needs to be complete before proof can cut it cleanly. Chloe said, I personally reimagined the entire guest experience. Dana looked down at her file. One contractor glanced toward me because he had spent 3 phone calls with me discussing the west stair. Chloe continued. Of course, Olivia helped with minor drafting. Minor drafting. 5 months of safety review became a pencil in her mouth. My mother added, she is wonderful with technical lines. That was when I stood. Not fast, not angry, just enough that chairs creaked and heads turned. Before investors rely on this package, I have one question for the city. Brent's face changed. Dana looked up. Go ahead. I said, does the submitted plan set list a valid architect of record authorization? Chloe laughed lightly. Olivia, this is not a technical review. Dana opened the file. The room waited. Paper moved. A contractor lowered his tablet. Brent stopped touching the clicker. Dana's eyes paused on one page, then another. The submitted set carries an architect stamp. I said, whose? She looked at me. Yours. My mother smiled like that solved the problem. See? Family collaboration. I said, I did not authorize the submission. The room lost its air. Chloe's smile froze. Brent said, there must be confusion. I lifted the blue tube. There is. Dana's voice changed, not louder, official. Who submitted these plans? Brent said, our office coordinated the packet. Who altered the title block? Dana asked. Nobody answered. That was the first room shift. Investors leaned forward. My father looked at Chloe. Chloe looked at Brent. My mother looked at me like I had slapped her instead of asking a question. Dana closed the file halfway. This review cannot proceed until authorization is verified. Chloe snapped. Olivia is jealous because she was never the visionary. The old line, finally public. I opened the blue tube and removed the original stamped sheet. The file history disagrees. I placed the original plan on the table. My name, my studio, my license number, my stamp. Then I placed the print shop receipt beside it. Second set. Name block adjusted. Then the CAD metadata showing my file creation date, my revision history, my red line exports. The investor closest to the screen stopped taking notes. Brent said, it was a family file. It was my licensed work. Dana picked up the print receipt. Who requested the adjusted title block? I looked at Brent. He did not speak. Silence has a signature. Chloe tried to recover by walking toward the table. Olivia always helped us. She knew this was for the resort. I said, helping is not transferring authorship. My father finally spoke. You are ruining your sister's future. I looked at him. No, I am refusing to risk mine. Dana asked for the second plan set. Brent handed it over too slowly. She compared the stamp, the title block, and the missing authorization form. This set is not valid for review. The words landed harder than shouting. One investor closed his folder. Another whispered to his assistant. The contractor near the wall muttered something I did not catch, but he stepped away from Chloe's display board like the renderings might stain him. My mother stood. This is a family misunderstanding. Dana looked at her. Professional stamps are not family misunderstandings. That was the second slap, and it came from the city. Brent's face had gone gray. Chloe's eyes were wet now, but not with remorse, with calculation failing in public. Then a smaller voice came from the side of the room. Kayla, Chloe's 17-year-old stepdaughter, had been sitting near the window with a live stream assistant, wearing a resort-branded cardigan for the investor video. Mom, she said, you told me Olivia said yes. Chloe turned toward her too sharply. Not now. Kayla looked at the screen, then at my plans. You said it was your design. No one moved. A child had found the load-bearing wall. I did not let Kayla become a weapon. She should not have been put in this room, I said. Dana nodded once and asked the assistant to stop recording. The assistant lowered the phone. That was the third room shift. The performance had lost its camera. Brent tried one last time. We can resolve this privately and keep the investment timeline intact. I said, then answer publicly. Who removed my name? He looked at Chloe. Chloe looked at my mother. My mother sat down. There are moments when an entire family system turns visible. Not because someone explains it, but because everyone looks toward the person they expected to be protected. Dana ended the meeting. Permit review frozen. Submitted plan set rejected. Authorization required before any further city action. Contractor bids paused pending valid documents. Investors advised not to rely on the current presentation package. She said it in clean, administrative language, which somehow made it more devastating. Process does not need volume. As people stood, Chloe came close enough that only I could hear her. You could have let me have this. I looked at the blue tube in my hand. You could have asked. She whispered, You are so cruel. No, I am credited. She walked away crying into my mother's arms. My mother did not comfort Kayla. She comforted the thief who got caught. That told the room everything. In the hallway outside the preview suite, my father caught up with me near a framed black and white photo of the resort. He looked older than he had that morning, but not softer. You made your point, he said. Now fix it. 10 minutes earlier, I had been jealous, difficult, technical support. Now I was useful again. No. Olivia, the answer is no. He lowered his voice. If this project dies, your mother loses everything. Chloe loses investors. We all lose the resort. Then you should not have built it on a stolen stamp. His face hardened. You were always waiting for a chance to punish her. I almost laughed. I was waiting for someone to ask before taking. He said, Raymond filled your head with this professional pride. That was when my hand tightened around the tube. Raymond taught me that work has a name. My father looked away first. The hallway did not need a jury. It had the pause. By noon, my phone was full. My mother texted that Chloe was devastated. Brent wrote that investor confidence could be restored if I signed a limited authorization and a statement describing the title block issue as clerical. Chloe sent one message. I hope you are happy being right and alone. I saved it. Then the print shop employee called. His name was Luis. He sounded nervous. Brent had just called demanding they delete the adjusted file from their system because it contained family-sensitive material. Luis said he remembered my request to preserve it and wanted to know what to do. I told him not to delete anything and asked if he would confirm the order details in writing. He sent the email within 5 minutes. That was the near miss after the collapse. They were still trying to erase the erasure. I forwarded everything to my attorney and to the state licensing board's ethics intake, not as a dramatic revenge move, but because unauthorized use of a professional stamp is not a family argument. It is a public safety issue. Chloe could cry to my mother. Buildings did not care. The next 48 hours were ugly in a quiet, expensive way. Investors delayed signatures. One withdrew entirely. The largest one asked for an independent audit of all design documents before releasing any funds. The contractor window for summer construction began to close. Dana Mercer sent a formal notice requiring corrected submissions, architect authorization, and a written explanation of the altered title block. The resort relaunch calendar collapsed one date at a time. Chloe posted a vague story about betrayal from people closest to you. My mother commented with a broken heart. I did not respond. Deletion is not disappearance, but silence can be strategy. Then, Brent made a mistake bigger than the first one. He sent an email to the investor group calling me a disgruntled family member who had provided drafting assistance and was now holding the project hostage for recognition. He copied me by accident. The attachment included a slide titled Risk Management Response. Under talking points, he had written, "Position Olivia as emotionally reactive, minimize authorship, offer payment if necessary, avoid stamp discussion." I stared at the words for a long time, not because they surprised me, because they finally said the quiet part in a font. My attorney sent one response with 4 attachments: my contract terms, the original title block, the print shop receipt, and Brent's contributor acknowledgement with the rights transfer clause. One investor replied only to say all further communications should go through counsel. Panic had replaced contempt. My mother showed up at my office the next day at 4:30. I was reviewing a roof assembly for a different client when I saw her through the glass door, clutching her purse like it was the last polite object in the world. My assistant looked at me. I said, "Leave the conference room door open." My mother hated that. She liked closed rooms. Closed rooms let her cry without witnesses and accuse without records. She sat across from me under a wall of material samples and said, "Your sister has not eaten. That is not an architectural issue. Do not be cruel. I am being accurate." Her eyes filled. She just wanted to build something beautiful. She stole something functional. "You always do this. You make everything about rules. Rules are why people can use staircases in a fire." She flinched, but only because that sentence had witnesses. Then she tried the family mask. She said real family did not keep score. I opened a folder and turned the contributor acknowledgement toward her. This was not scorekeeping. This was transfer language. She barely looked at it. "Brent handles paperwork." Chloe presented it. She trusted him. She presented my work. My mother leaned forward and whispered, "Could you not let your sister shine once?" There it was. Not, "Could you help?" Not, "Could you forgive?" Could you let her shine? As if my work were a lamp and Chloe was entitled to stand in front of it. I said, "She can shine with her own electricity." My mother's face went flat. "You have always resented her." I put Raymond's note on the table. "Never let anyone remove your name from your work." "No, I believed you when you said mine mattered less." For the first time, she looked tired of herself. Not sorry, tired. That is different. She left without touching the folder. 2 days later, Dana called me directly. The city had scheduled a formal clarification meeting because the investors wanted to know whether the project could be salvaged legally. My attorney advised me to attend, but only to verify authorship and non-authorization. I agreed. Not to save Chloe, to protect my license and the public record. The meeting was held in a city planning review room downtown, not the resort preview suite. No chandeliers, no sample boards, no branded water bottles. Just fluorescent lights, a rectangular table, a wall clock, a projector, and a stack of municipal files that did not care who cried. Dana sat at the head. 2 investors came with counsel. The contractor attended. Brent arrived with Chloe and my parents. Kayla was not there. I was grateful. My blue tube sat on the table in front of me. Chloe would not look at it. Dana began by stating the purpose. Verify the architect of record, determine whether altered documents had been submitted, and decide if the project review could continue. My father tried to speak first. "We are hoping to move forward as a family." Dana said, "This is not a family mediation." The room got clearer. Brent said the title block change had been a branding error. I opened the tube and placed the original stamped plan on the table. This is the valid plan. Dana projected the submitted plan beside it. My name missing. My stamp copied. My revision notes removed. I placed the CAD metadata summary underneath. This is the file history. Chloe finally snapped. You are acting like you designed every inch alone. I said, no, I am acting like I designed what carries my stamp. Dana asked Brent, who directed the removal of the title block? Brent said, the team discussed presentation cleanup. Dana asked, was Ms. Grant part of that discussion? No answer. An investor asked Chloe, did you tell us you were the creative director of plans you did not own? Chloe's mouth opened. My mother reached for her hand. The investor looked at my mother and said, please let her answer. That was the public room breaking. Chloe whispered, Olivia helped more than I said. More than I said. That tiny admission moved the room more than a confession would have. Dana looked at me. Do you authorize the current submitted set? No. Do you authorize any use of your stamp by Chloe Grant Creative or the resort entity? No. Are you willing to continue as architect of record under the current ownership structure? I looked at my father, my mother, Chloe, Brent, and the table full of people who had finally stopped treating me like a difficult appendix to my sister's dream. No. My mother inhaled like I had broken something sacred. I had only removed my name from a lie. Dana announced the file would remain frozen until a new licensed architect submitted original work or until a lawful agreement was reached with me. The contractor said the summer construction window was no longer realistic. One investor withdrew on the spot. The second requested return of escrowed planning funds pending review. Brent tried to object, but his own email appeared in the packet my attorney had provided. Position Olivia as emotionally reactive. Minimize authorship. Avoid stamp discussion. He stopped speaking before anyone told him to. Sometimes the evidence does not raise its voice. It just sits there until the liar runs out of oxygen. My mother started crying then, but no one moved toward her. My father folded his copy of the agenda so hard the paper tore. Chloe stared at the plans like she had just discovered lines were heavier than praise. Dana collected the submitted set and said the city would note the authorization dispute in the project file. Clean, administrative, permanent. In the lobby afterward, Chloe came to me alone. Her makeup had settled under her eyes. For once, she looked less like a brand and more like a person who had spent her whole life being protected from stairs and was now falling down them. I did not think it would go this far, she said. I believed that part. You never do. She wiped her cheek. Mom said you would be fine. That one hurt because it sounded true. My family had built entire plans on the idea that I would be fine. Fine meant I would recover. Fine meant I would absorb. Fine meant I would stay useful after being erased. I said, I was fine because I had to be. That is not permission. She looked at the blue tube. Can we buy the plans? No. Why? Because you did not want the work. You wanted my name removed from it. She looked away. I am sorry. Maybe she meant it for 1 second. Maybe consequence had opened the real door. But apology after exposure is not the same as conscience before harm. Start over, I said, with your own architect, your own ideas, your own name. She whispered, Dad will never forgive me. He forgave you before consequences your whole life. Then I walked out. I did not need to watch the golden child meet gravity. The fallout lasted months because process is slower than humiliation, but it cuts deeper. The city file remained frozen. The resort missed the summer build window. The $4.8 million investor package broke apart. One contractor took another project. Brent was removed from investor communications by his firm while they reviewed the email trail and document handling. Chloe's lifestyle brand stopped posting resort updates. Her followers asked questions she could not answer without admitting the pretty drawings had weight behind them. My parents tried to hire another architect, but anyone competent asked for existing conditions, ownership of prior plans, and an explanation for the frozen file. The explanation did not flatter them. Victor from accounting, an old friend of my father's, called me once and said maybe I could license the drawings quietly for a fee. I told him to send all requests through counsel. He did not call again. People who want quiet deals rarely like written doors. My mother sent one long email saying I had humiliated the family, damaged Chloe's future, and forgotten where I came from. I answered with one sentence. I remember exactly where I came from. That is why everything is documented. My father did not write for 6 weeks. When he finally did, it was a scanned letter, formal and bitter, saying he hoped I understood the resort might have to be sold. I read it twice, not because I felt guilty, but because a younger version of me would have called immediately to save him from the consequences of choosing Chloe over truth. I did not call. The resort was not dying because I refused to be erased. It was dying because they built a relaunch on stolen structural drawings and family denial. A line is not small when it holds the roof up. That became the sentence I kept returning to. 3 months later, I signed my first independent mountain lodge contract under my own studio name, as principal architect. The client was a nonprofit developing accessible cabins for families traveling with disabled children near Boone. At the kickoff meeting, I placed Raymond's blue blueprint tube on the conference table, unrolled the first concept sheet, and saw my name printed cleanly in the title block. Olivia Grant Studio. No one laughed. No one called me rigid. The director traced the accessible path with her finger and said, "This line matters." I had to look down for a second. Some sentences arrive years late and still find the bruise. I used part of the retainer to start a small mentorship workshop for young women in architecture, drafting, engineering, and design technology. I showed them how to protect CAD metadata, use contracts, preserve email approvals, mark drafts, invoice correctly, and recognize when someone is asking for help but taking ownership. I told them talent without boundaries becomes free labor. Credit is not vanity when liability has your name on it. I still have the old blue tube. It is scratched now, with one dent near the cap from the day I dropped it outside the city building because my hands were shaking after staying calm too long. Inside it, I keep Raymond's note, the original resort plan, the print shop receipt, the rejected title block, Dana's clarification notice, and the first signed sheet from my new lodge project. Not because I live in the past, because proof can be a bridge if you stop using it as a cage. Chloe and I do not speak often. Once, she sent a photo of Kayla touring a community college design lab. The message said, she asked about drafting classes. I wrote back, good, make sure her name stays on her work. My mother still thinks that was cruel. I think it was the first honest advice I ever gave them. My father sold part of the resort share eventually. The family called it restructuring. I called it gravity. Brent disappeared from family photos before Thanksgiving. Chloe posted less. My mother became very interested in privacy after spending years using my silence as a storage unit for her favorite lies. As for me, I stopped shrinking my work so someone else could stand taller. I stopped sitting near coffee stations in rooms where my name belonged on the plan. I stopped translating theft into family support. I learned that a line can be a boundary, a beam, a route to safety, or the edge of a life you no longer let people cross. My family invited me to watch my sister present my blueprints as hers because they thought I would choose peace over credit, family over record, silence over public discomfort. They forgot who trained me. Buildings taught me that hidden damage spreads. Raymond taught me that names matter. And my own family taught me that if you do not protect your work, the people closest to you may steal it with the softest smiles. So tell me, if your family erased your name from the work that held their whole dream together, would you stay quiet to keep the peace? And if they called you jealous for showing the proof, would you still open the tube and let the room see whose lines were holding up the roof?